Welcome in. Today I have someone who's been here before, and she has just come up with amazing autobiography. Tina Cole, My Three Lives, as a nod to her role in My Three Sons. Tina, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you and talk to you.
I am amazed with this book. I have not ever read a book where somebody really lays it on the line.
You know, a friend of mine, a man actually, which I thought was interesting, in my church, I was worried about some of the things that were in the book. I said, what? He said, I need to talk to you about your book. And I said, well, what? What did you think? He said, I think it was bold. And I went, oh, I never thought about that, but I like that.
It is bold. Yes. It's I learned so much about you and your family, but mainly about you, because you have had, I mean, what you've said, there's that I am shocked at what I was able to accomplish while being so emotionally broken. And that just hit me because
okay, that'll make me cry, so be careful. My tear ducts are connected to my bladder, so oh yeah, that's true. I when I look back through all the date books, I have date books and journals, and I started going back through those, and it was I would go, oh wow, oh I did that, oh.
You did so much. I cannot believe everything that you went through, that emotionally went through. But your career, the roles that you took, the concerts that you all did. What immediately? What I was wondering is, what was the impetus for you to? That's okay. What was the impetus for you to actually write this? Sit down and write this.
I'm sorry, I was wiping tears. What was your question?
What was the reasoning that you decided to go ahead and just pour your soul out, which you did?
People have asked for years. I'm a storyteller, and we would be at parties or at, a girls' night or whatever, and they would ask me questions, and I would tell these stories, and people kept saying, "You've got to put these down. You've got to write these stories." And I kept thinking, why would anyone want to read a book about someone who didn't suffer from, sexual abuse or addiction or, things like that, depression. And then a girlfriend sent me an audio recorder, little voice recorder in the mail. She said, okay, you're going to start writing. So we all put together, girlfriends, we put together a list of questions. And every day someone would call me and say, okay, tell me about. And so I would talk into the voice recorder. And because it was very intimate, it was easy to be intimate with my friends. So I would send the files to a friend in Los Angeles, and Debbie would type them up and then email them to me. It took several years to have, as my cousin Cam said, you have all these pearls, and now it's time to weave them into a necklace. And we found a publisher who really wanted to publish the book, and because I was not interested in self-publishing. And now I had a deadline. So, the deadline was important. And then it took about a year and a half to finally get the necklace woven. But I got stuck with the hard times. I couldn't, nothing would come. And I'll tell you, Francine, I would pray about it. When I would get stuck, I would, I'd sit down on the computer and say, okay, Father in heaven, help me. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do with this. And by golly, the words would start flowing. And so I'm going to cry again. Well,
that's another thing that you bring up in the book, is how your faith really leads you through your life.
Yeah. And I don't know how people make it without faith.
Right. And you're Mormon. Your whole family was Mormon. We all know that. I mean, family, the Osmonds, families that are from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that really comes through in the book, how your faith really pulled you through a lot of
Oh,
very difficult times.
yes. Oh, absolutely. As I say, I don't know what I would have done without it. And the biggest thing, and I don't even want to talk about this, but it was paying my tithing, which I talk about in the book.
Yeah.
That is, I just, the promises that come. And this is biblical. This isn't just LDS. This is a biblical thing. This is Judeo-Christian, ideologies that if you the first thing I would do, when I don't care if I got $10, I that penny or whatever would go to tithing, because I believe the promises that I would be okay. And every time I would do that, I would get a job. Or, as I said in the book, there would be $100 bill stuck under my doormat, or a huge box of food. I I can't explain it.
Well, that's what
I can't, but it's faith.
well, a lot of people probably don't even realize how poor you were. You went through the to the bottom of the
Yeah.
money pot. I mean, your family, what you think that because you were on TV all that time and you had your job with my three sons and you had this and you had that and your king cousins, but you didn't have money.
No,
That
when, because I moved and I gave that up. I wanted to be a wife and a mother. That was what I wanted my whole life. And so when that ended, I mean, not with my children, but as I said in the book, when every other week, and the children would go to their dads, I would curl up in a ball on the couch, unless I had a job that I had to go to. But it was so painful. And I had given up. I mean, you can't make a lot of money as an actress or a singer in Sacramento.
yeah.
So I depended on the church, and I never even thought about going to the government for help. It didn't, I don't know why it didn't dawn on me. I just didn't. I went to, I did go to the food bank, which was, as I said, the $11 a month, for pretty rotten food. But
Uh,
the church was amazing and did not make me feel less than.
Another thing that you go into, you do not really have good luck with husbands.
I know what happened.
You actually had horrible luck with men. But a lot of people, my three sons, you played Katie, Robbie's wife.
Mhm.
How many years were you on there? I forgot. 7?
Well, I was on for 8, but 3 as Katie.
3 is
I
that's
did I did different characters
right.
before.
I saw you popping up on earlier shows and just as
Yeah.
a okay, there's Katie. A lot of people just know you from that. And your relationship, Don Grady, who played Robbie,
Mhm.
didn't really want you for the part.
Oh, I know. Thank goodness I didn't know that. If I had known that at the time, it would have been much harder than it was. Um, I just didn't even think about it. And he told me 2 years later, after we had fallen in love, and he said, "I have to tell you something." I went, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't know that." But that was that why we had difficulty in the romantic scenes, the kissing scenes, the makeout scenes, and I couldn't, uh we were kept bumping noses, and because he was awkward with me.
Yeah, you go into that in the book. I mean,
Yeah,
that was a funny
I
chapter.
know. Was that great? Go in
But
the corner and practice kissing.
yes,
You need to look like you like each other.
but you guys did fall in love,
We did.
and he asked you to marry him several times, and this never happened. You never got married. Do you think what do you think your life would have been like had you just thrown caution to the wind and say, "Yeah, I'll marry you"?
Yeah, yeah. That's hard to say. I think we would have been very happy. The hardest part was the religious part, because that's such a big part of my life.
Right.
And so that I don't know. That's a real hard guess, but he was just a wonderful, wonderful man. And I know he was a great husband and father. You know, when he finally did marry,
Mhm.
until the end, he he was a pretty terrific guy.
That's nice to hear about our people that we see on TV, because a lot of times they aren't really nice people.
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't like each other at all, but they, I know. Yeah. We
But
didn't have those kind of problems on our show, which was also wonderful. We didn't have the the actors, the crew, everybody was pretty stable. And Don Fedderson and Fred McMurray they wanted a family. They wanted it a family, and it was.
that's
Yeah.
also very nice to hear, because even people to this day know my three sons. They see it's always on
Oh,
somewhere.
every day, every morning.
And I grew up with it. I just loved that. I thought that how cool to be a part of that family. It's but one thing you did talk about is the McMurray way of filming, which to me, I'm not an actor, but that would drive me crazy.
That it is a nightmare. And what's odd about that is people say, like, fans all the time say, "Oh, do you remember the show when you did this and that?" And I go, no, because if I missed, because we shot out of sequence and so many scenes from so many different shows, if you didn't see it on television, and in those days it only played once, and then it reran in the summer,
Right.
once in the season, and so if you missed that, you had no idea what was actually in the show.
I don't think people know that you were on Hawaiian Eye.
Yes, that was my first show, and it was just a fluke, a real fluke. I had been discovered by Warner Brothers when I was 14, and I'd gone to drama lessons in the summer times for about 4 years. But I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to, that's what I want to do: be a wife, a mother, and a teacher. And I got my first job after a year at BYU, and I was going to transfer to San Jose State. So I was working a semester. My big first job, making $49 a week. I was going to buy a used Volkswagen. I was very excited. And I got a call from Warner's, and they said, "We want you to come down and test for the lead in Hawaiian Eye," which was just happened to be one of my favorite shows. And Connie Stevens had been put on suspension. And I think I talk about it in the book. I don't want to talk about it now. I don't know if it was true.
Mention why she was on suspension, and I was going to ask you, but I don't want to delve. So go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Well, there was a disagreement, let's say, but it's in the book, so you can read it there. And so I went. It was just really silly. They called on a Monday, and my day off was on a Wednesday, and I said, "Well, my day off's on Wednesday. I could come down then." And they called my mother, and I was on a plane that night, and I had to do singing, which I'd never done before, except with family, just at church, and sometimes the King sisters would get the kids up to sing in a show, but I'd never done it professionally. So I had to do 3 songs, 3 recordings. I had to dance, and I had to do a romantic scene with Troy Donahue.
Oh my, how horrible was that?
I know. Was a little intimidating. But luckily, romantic scenes weren't like they are today. And we were in a restaurant, and it was just a very sweet romantic scene. And 3 weeks later, I was in Hawaii. I mean, I didn't know how to write a check. I didn't know, you know, I couldn't. I was embarrassed to call the movie theater. Remember when they used to have the operators that answer the phone, and you'd ask them what was playing? I I was afraid to call and say, "Hey, can you tell me what the movies are?" I mean, I was just so green, and here I am, the lead in a big television show.
Well, you
It-
mentioned that your mom made the call and you were on the next plane.
exactly.
Do you think I know your mom was the beginning of the King family show. I mean, she just really pulled it all together, and it was
Created it.
amazing. Was she did she push you into doing this at all, or how forceful was she?
Not at all. Not at all. when they called and said, "We'd like to screen test your daughter," when I was 14, she said, "Oh, absolutely." And I got screen test when they said, "We'd like you to come down and go to school here during the summers." Fine. Never, she wasn't a stage mother at all. In fact, she was a little critical. Um, and she helped me, like, she'd make me a whole new wardrobe to go down every summer. I had all these new wonderful little summer dresses that I wore. And she was helpful that way. And here's my father, who's, in the business too. We tease in our family, we were raised by wolves. I use that term several times in the book because we were never given, we were always around, we were all a part of everything, but we were never given any advice. I was never, I knew nothing about the business of the business. Give me a script and I could do it. I don't know why. I mean, I just naturally did it. But but I didn't know about, I didn't ever have an agent. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't know how to, I mean, it was just, I went to Australia um, after Hawaii and I to open for Rowan and Martin at the Chevron Hilton Hotel. Again, it's in the book, but I had never done an act before. I'd sung pre-recorded, at the Shell Bar in Hawaii and I. And mom talked to the promoter and she said, "Oh yeah, Tina will do it. Come on up. I'll write you an act." She wrote me an act, wrote, sewed me a costume, and I left for Australia with a half an hour's worth of music and dialogue that I'd never really done before. I had to go to Los Angeles to get the plane. My aunt Alice, my mom's sister, took me to the airport and she said, "Well, now you've got your tip money and everything." I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, Tina, I'm going to Australia." And she said, "How much money do you have?" I had $6 in my purse. I didn't have a credit card. Well, girls couldn't, I don't think, have credit cards then. But I had nothing. I didn't have a checkbook. I had $6 and I'm going across the world. And she said, "Well, you can't, you got to give tips and you got to do this." And so she looked at her purse. She had a $20 bill. So I went to Australia with $26. It's so my parents, my dad didn't want me to do it. He actually was against me getting into show business. But my mother was delighted, but only with the singing and the dancing part.
Comes through in your book is that you keep having really bad lows, really low lows, but you keep bouncing back.
Yeah.
And to me, it's whenever I saw you, you always seem so perky and upbeat. But I know deep inside, sometimes you had
Yes.
hard times. One thing I want to get into is your, I don't know, in-law mother on My Three
Oh,
Sons,
yes.
Beverly Garland.
Yes.
You ended up marrying her son.
Yeah, her stepson. So she became my real stepmother-in-law, just like on the show.
Yeah. So when that happened and the show was over by then,
Yeah.
did you stay? How close were you with Beverly?
I loved her. She was a pretty crusty, hard shell on the outside, tough broad, but inside she was just a marshmallow. And I loved her dearly. And she and I, in fact, I saw her a week before she passed away. I went to Los Angeles and I said, "Beverly, go home. Go home." She was just, she said, "Tina, what do I do?" And I said, "Your husband is waiting for you. You know, just go and be happy." And kissed her and she kissed me back and then she was gone a week later.
Well, that's one of the nicest
Yeah.
things people can do for somebody who's in that position. I've done that with my
Yeah.
father, and
Gotta say, yes, you have my permission to
Mhm.
move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That really does.
Hard. It's hard though, isn't it?
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very hard. Okay, you have one thing that really, really stood out in this book
Ooh.
is your your deliveries of your children. I
Oh, yeah, weren't they fun? I had great.
You broke your back, you broke oh, it
My
was
pelvis separated, tore all the ligaments in my groin with my second son. I had been teaching exercise classes, 3 times a week and playing racquetball. And I mean, I thought I was going to go pop that baby out and go to lunch. But as my doctor said, honey, you're just old. But in those days, 38 was old.
back,
I was
yes,
old.
definitely.
And I think maybe I was muscle bound. I don't know. But I was determined to get that kid out. And I just ripped myself apart.
And yet you went on for more.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that that was going to, it was going to repeat. And when I got pregnant, that was my third time. It was a little too early. So I guess I hadn't healed up enough and everything just fell apart. So, I mean, I was in a walker, a cane, a walker, and a wheelchair by the end. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Then I wasn't expecting to have another one. So there she was.
So you have 4 kids. How many grandchildren now?
I have 6. Yeah, I keep waiting for my second son to, move forward and maybe get married and give me another one. But right now I've got 6 and they're just wonderful.
Now, I know we spoke about this last time, how I went to your concerts here in the Catalina Club in LA with your cousins, the 4 King cousins, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. That just brought back so many memories.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any possibility of reuniting for anything in the future, do you think?
There is talk, and I don't know if I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if it jinxes if you talk about it, but another possible, like a retrospective, and with the cousins, with the 4 King cousins, and all of the first generation is gone except one in-law, Phyllis, who was married to my mom's younger brother, and she's the last of that generation. And so I am hoping that that this is going to happen. I know there are wonderful producers that did the last retrospective and then got us singing again, and did put together that show that you saw at the Catalina. Are working on that right now. So fingers crossed, prayers said.
Definitely. That would be so much fun. I know your fans would like it. And not just the 4 King cousins, which I absolutely love. I have all your CDs now, the
They're
albums.
happy, aren't they?
They
Happy,
are
happy
so
music.
happy. It's a rainy day, you put on a King Cousins and
Yeah,
just go dancing around the house because you are a
thank you.
persona that I think because of your music that I always had of you. And then reading your book, I'm thinking that's not always the case because you had so many hard times.
But my family teases me. They call me Pollyanna, because those rose-colored glasses go on. I'm not, you know, uh, I'm still a realist, but I choose to be happy. I choose to wake up every day and go, it's okay, okay, God, what do you have for me today? It's what the other is to, I don't want to be depressed.
Well, I think people, if they're having a hard time, I would challenge them to go onto YouTube and search out King Cousins, the top 20, because those
Oh,
those
wasn't that
segments.
fun? We thought that was so cool at the time.
I always envied those shirts with your names
Our
on it.
little letter sweaters, aren't they
Yeah.
fun? I wish I still had mine. I didn't, I don't know what happened to it,
Oh,
over the years, and I still have a couple of Bob Mackeys in my closet, but I wish I kept that letter sweater.
Yeah, that was
I don't know
that
that I
was
fit into it now, but
that was
Absolutely adorable. And I don't know if everybody knows that Bob Mackie did the costumes for your TV show, which were always amazing. It's just,
And that was the first time on his own.
yes.
His first show on his own.
And they did a fabulous job. You guys did a fabulous job singing and dancing.
Thank you.
The whole shebang is, your family is just so talented, so creative, because I know you've described how you did your Christmas songs sometimes, how you like made your own designs, how you were gonna do it. Does that transfer to your next generation, you think?
Some are have got that music gene, whatever. Mine, unfortunately, they do, but they don't use it. My eldest son is still very talented and plays, and he doesn't realize how well he sings. I wish he knew. But like Lex's kids are all in music and creative things. There are a couple of other of the third generation that are, but mostly they're doing what everybody else does, and I hate losing it. At least we do family reunions and at Christmas, like if I'm going down today, as a matter of fact, to Los Angeles to go to spend Easter at my cousin Cam's, and everybody there is a palette. You have to wear Easter colors.
Wow.
And or black and white, but it has to be spring, and everybody has to learn in your Easter bonnet because we have to sing it before we eat.
Oh, that sounds like fun. That sounds like fun. And you're all pretty much still together quite a bit, but unfortunately, we are out of time.
No, it's so good to talk to you.
It goes by so fast when I talk to you. It just, boom, it's gone. But I really highly recommend your book. Oh,
thank you.
And you read it and you think you live actually, it's like you live 10 lives.
Someone said that the other day, and I thought, oh, well, yeah, I always love cats. So I could do 9 would be good.
No, but it's a fascinating read, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully, we'll have you back again, especially if you guys get together again.
Oh, I hope so. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And for the viewers, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little chat. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, and if you'd like to be notified of future postings, click that notification bell. Alrighty.